Here we are. What you about to say, Bonnie? All right, we are ready to begin. This is Nothing But Worry. I'm Lance Ash, and here with me on the sofa is...
Bill, Ball, and Jane.
Nice. That's my wife, Bonnie, and we're sitting on the sofa in the living room, surrounded by all our worldly possessions. And, before we begin, I just want to complain about something before I forget. First of all, I don't like the fact that they put less and less chapstick in the tube every year. But second of all, there's something about the little knob at the bottom that you twist to make the chapstick go up out of the tube. Either it's too loose or something's wrong with it, but this happens to me all the time. The action of it rolling around in my pants pocket makes the chapstick go out more and more and more. So by the time you take the top off, you've got a 1/4 inch of chapstick sitting there. And if you don't know it's like that, it breaks off and smears all over the place. And I get tired of it.
God, you've turned into an old fart.
Turned into one?
I'm thinking maybe we should call Fox News and get you an interview. Maybe we'll just position you at one of those diners when they come and do interviews.
Hey, I could...
You can wear a red hat.
I could tell Trump, I like your idea about, the showers are no good now. Well, what about the chapstick? Chapstick. Woke chapstick. Okay, yeah, sounds good. Anyway.
Okay, am I supposed to complain about something?
If you want to complain about something, sure.
I can complain about something. That fucking stove.
What about the stove?
Fucking stove.
Okay.
So I went online to find out if my problem was limited to me. No, it's not. It isn't me. It's them. Apparently there's some new policy where they're supposed to have the eyes cool down once it reaches a certain temperature. So you've got the eye on high. You're bringing up your water to boil. You put your pasta in. You set the timer for 8 minutes. If, of course, you can get the damn timer to work, which is a problem with this stove. Also, and 2 minutes into boil time, it goes bloop, and it turns itself off. And apparently it's a safety feature, which you can't override through any kind of button. No, you have to take a piece of ice to it and put it on the sensor in the middle. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah, I agree. It's stupid. It's just like childproof caps on medicine. If I have no children in the house, then... Or if the medicine's out of reach of the children, I hate having to fight with a damn cap. The very people who need medicine the most are the ones who can't afford to wrestle with a top. They won't come off the goddamn bottle of medicine. Anyway, whatever.
Well, I ended up in tears once because the Prius got rear-ended and the bing, 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 bing wouldn't go off. It went on for miles and miles and miles. It drove me crazy. Apparently, being rear-ended made the trunk not latch properly. And so it wanted to tell you. And then there's the whole fucking, you have your seatbelt off. Bing, bing, bing. Used to be the bing would go off after about 15 seconds. Nope.
Yeah.
The Subaru, it keeps going and going and going and going. So if I put something on the passenger seat while I'm driving, it thinks there's somebody there. And it starts bang, 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 bang. And I swear, I know it's not getting faster, but it feels like it's increasing speed, going from bing, bing, bing to bing, 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 bing.
Well, I got home this morning and slept 2 hours. Bonnie and I were going to go out today, run errands.
Oh.
And so the idea was I'll come home, eat, take a nap. When I get up, we'll go out. Well, I only slept 2 hours. And I thought, might as well go ahead and go. So I had to wake up Bonnie, and Bonnie's like, oh my God, I don't want to get up.
Yeah, because I had like 2 hours of sleep, maybe 3 hours last night. And I was fucked up. So I had to have my second cup of tea for the morning. Tea, proper, hot, milk, sugar. And I still wasn't functioning. By the time we left, It took me getting on the road and having my adrenaline going from driving to get fully awakened.
That's another thing we should mention. We parenthetically, when we're together, Bonnie wants to drive, even though it's my car and the seat is adjusted for me and so forth and so on. But she wants to drive. Now she won't drive at night. At night I drive. But anyway, so she had to be the driver.
You have the equivalent of modern day bucket seats, these hard ass seats. It's a Subaru Crosstrek and it's bare bones. And it's one of those that you take it up to the wild wilderness, your dog goes and jumps in the mud puddles, and everybody gets the car, and then you return home, and then you get a garden hose and you hose it out. So the passenger seat in your car, the latch for where the seatbelt attaches, it doesn't move. It's just this rigid, flexed thing, and it bites into my hip bone. It drives me crazy. Plus, the seat isn't adjustable up or down. And it's hard.
I thought it was.
It's not. It's only adjustable on the fucking driver's side.
I didn't know that.
The passenger side is fixed. And so it's just painful to ride in. And, I mean, I put a folded towel between my hip and that horrible latch for the seat belt. And then the seat belt locks up. You can't adjust it while you're riding. It doesn't matter if the brakes are engaged or not. It locks up and it continually tightens and tightens and tightens. So I have to have this latch strap thing that you put on it to make it stop pulling and pulling. Because otherwise I have to put my purse between me and the seat belt because it pulls so taut. And you can't undo it. You literally have to take off the seatbelt, let it go all the way back in, and then pull it out and reattach it, and then it starts jerking and pulling. Your seatbelt on the other side doesn't do that.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at is, so we went out to do all these errands, and then as a treat, we got takeout. And we went to this place.
We rarely get takeout.
Right. So we went to this place called Mediterranean Grill. And it's sort of like Greek / Lebanese type, food. And we got two and Bonnie had discovered the place long before me and introduced me to it. And I'd forgotten basically what it tasted like.
And how good it is.
So we got two different wraps.
A vegetable wrap and a falafel wrap.
Right, and it comes with a little green salad thing.
No, I had to order that on the side special for you, sweetie.
Oh, okay. What is it? Is that tabbouleh salad?
It is tabbouleh. They make it properly. Tabbouleh is supposed to be about half parsley, hence the heavy green. It's extremely heavy in parsley in Lebanon.
So we get home, and Bonnie split each wrap in half. So we each got half of one of the wraps. And
I had a couple bites of the tabbouleh, but it was so heavy in onions, and I had taken a pill I shouldn't have taken this morning. I took one of those ibuprofen.
So anyway, I'd forgotten how good it was, and as soon as we opened
sauces.
it, there's a white sauce, and then there's a spicy red sauce, and surprisingly hot. People are sometimes afraid to give people really hot stuff. It's pretty good, but the whole thing was really, really tasty. And I was pleased we did it because
it's like a Greek yogurt with dill, and the hot sauce is like that North African Berber sauce. I forget what it's called, but it's got some serious heat in it.
Yeah. So the idea was, well, we were at like 3.5 hours running errands. You get home and eat, and I was going to go back to bed. I go back to bed and I don't sleep but a couple of hours and I'm up again. It's just typical Friday evening
Bullshit.
crap,
We ran a lot of errands while we were out, didn't we?
Yeah. We could have done more stuff.
If
Coulda
our
went to-
doctor's office hadn't fucked everything up for your prescriptions.
Well, we were going to go to the dollar store too, but we wound up not doing that.
Yeah, for what we needed, it could wait. It was just a couple of small lights.
Yeah.
If I buy them at Walmart, it's 4 for $15 as opposed to $1.25 each.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know you had those. and I'm thinking about getting a couple for the
Oh, they're fabulous.
playroom.
They're puck lights or push lights, and they have a really bright white light, and they have little batteries in them, 3 AAA batteries. And they're bare bones. You just push them, comes on, push it, goes off.
Well, it has a little sticker thing on the back. You just stick it. It's like for putting over a countertop or something, underneath
Or a
shelves or
closet
cabinets.
that doesn't have a light in it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it works really well as long as you don't look directly into the light because it's so damn bright.
Because I'm constantly trying to improve the layout in my studio, and I have all my pens and pencils and stuff like that in this spot where it's not lit very well. And just last week, I was telling you,
Need a light.
need a light up underneath this shelf so it'll go down onto these,
Yeah.
and that might work. That might be the solution.
I don't know how long they last. I can sit there and write checks or put away bills, and then I turn it off.
Right. Well, I wouldn't need
So-
it, but just in order to glance at what I need and grab it and then turn the light off.
Oh.
So.
Well, you're gonna on the desktop. You're talking about using it for that short a period of time.
Right. Just in there,
Okay.
just long enough to pick through the pens and pencils and find which one I need.
Did I show you why I want the new ones? So, the last couple weeks I've been drinking a lot of mixed drinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get a martini glass, champagne, highball, whatever.
Oh, you need the proper glass.
I want the proper glass.
Oh, I see.
And the cabinets have gotten 2 inches higher than. Anyway, apparently it's not the cabinets getting higher; it's me getting shorter with age.
Well, that's the funny thing
So I
about.
have to call Peter in to help. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you short?" He makes fun of me endlessly because I'm short. I'm the shortest person in the family, and no, I'm not short. I'm still almost 5'7". I mean, I'm shrinking. Yes, I was taller.
I thought you were more like 5'10", 5'9".
No, your sister was 5'10" or something. 5'11". No,
Our daughter's like 5'11".
she's 5'11 and a half, and Peter's 6'1.5".
Yeah, that's the thing about me. And it goes into why I used to. One of the reasons I used to drink is because the whole idea of being the drinker and drinking appealed to me. It was like an image, and so it wasn't enough for me to just go buy a bottle of booze. I wanted.
The rocks glasses.
Right, I wanted the martini glass, and I wanted it done properly
glass.
with an olive with a stick through it, and I had books on classic cocktails.
I
and the photograph.
remember.
You remember that beautiful book? It had
Yeah.
it was photographs of each cocktail, but in the original 1920s Art Deco regalia. The whole thing.
Well, the whole thing about me and the glasses is I have to get them down, and I can't reach the ones in the back at all. I can kind of fumble and pull one of the Pilsners forward, but I ended up removing all the books in the secretary desk, which stands opposite the bar, cleaned that off thoroughly, and put my barware glasses up there.
Barware.
Yes, barware, darling.
Well, I remember when we lived at the old place, I was going to get into drinking martinis, and I made one properly. Half gin, half vermouth in the martini glass.
Oh, Lord.
And you and I were in the kitchen, and I downed it. And
Egypt.
it was like getting a shot because it was just perfect. And it tasted good,
Ugh.
and it went down good, and it hit you immediately. And it was like immediately getting a shot of morphine or something, Demerol or
Don't
something.
drink 'em that way. Christ.
And you were looking at me as I did it. I was like, "Oh my God, that was good. I can make another one right now."
Well, lately I've been making cosmopolitans. I go light on the lime juice. And I use the sweetened lime juice, and it's still a little too tart for me. But last night I had another one of those, and I was like, I can get used to this, but gin and tonics are still my go-to drink. But the vodka and cranberry, the cheaper than the gin and tonics.
For some reason, like 2 nights ago, on the way into work, I was thinking about something. I think I was thinking about in general all the just miserable points in my life I've been through. And I was thinking about when I used to drink cooking sherry or cooking wine on Sundays because you couldn't buy liquor or alcohol in Georgia on Sundays back in the old days.
Jesus.
And I would go to the store with the shakes and buy a couple bottles of cooking wine. And that stuff is like drinking seawater. It's so salty.
It's horrible.
And you drink it, and it would taste horrible, but it would do the job of staving off the shakes until you could get something proper.
I think this weekend I'm going to make my vodka martini that has blueberries and lemon in it.
That sounds good.
It is very good. Rita used to drink them when she stayed here for a while.
You and I had just gotten married, and I had just started drinking again. And I was working at the convenience store up the road here, and they didn't sell alcohol in the place, and I would be having to work by myself and run the whole store and starting to wig out because I was getting the shakes. So I discovered vanilla extract, which is mostly alcohol.
Oh my God.
I would go through the store, get a whole bottle of vanilla extract, swipe it off the shelf.
Mix it with Coke.
Mix it with either Dr. Pepper or Cherry Coke.
Oh wow.
And you could stomach it. You could choke it down like that. Well, a couple years later, when I was working at the post office, I used to work with this older guy who retired from the Army as a major. And I was talking about my days of drinking, and I brought that up, and he knew all about it. He said, "Yep, vanilla extract. Yep, you can drink it." And apparently he had been through it too.
How long you been sober now?
Coming up on 22 years.
22 years without alcohol. Not bad.
Nope, not bad.
But you're not one of these people that craves alcohol every day.
No, and I don't understand that. I don't understand every day having to fight the urge to go drink. I really don't understand that. There's some people for whom alcohol calls to them because they feel it's something about it. And I think a lot of the time...
It's just a coping mechanism.
Well, I think a lot of the time it's connected with some other thing. And a lot of the time it's with either suppressing memories or it's connected with women.
Nag, nag, nag. When a man's married to a woman like you, he's got to have a drink.
When a man's married to a bitch like you, he has to drink.
What was that? Was it Strother Road?
That was from the John Waters movie, Desperate Living.
Oh, my God. It sounds like a Strother Martin quote, as he could say it.
The Muffy St. Jacques, I think is the woman's name, the character's name in the movie. And everybody is going around talking about what led them to go live in Mortville.
Uh-huh.
And she's flashing back to when she was married to this guy. And they're driving home together. And they're arguing. And she goes, "You're drunk." And he goes, "A man's gotta drink when he lives with a bitch like you."
You know,
oh my God.
Lately, since we're coming up on 30 years of marriage, you have said, we have been through a lot.
Yeah.
When we first got married, you wanted to share all the stuff with me, and one of them was the John Waters movies. On the flip side, you wanted to also show me all the Woody Allen movies. And I don't know if it really is a flip side, because they're both dealing with people who are just whiny and obnoxious, and you just want to bitch slap them half the time.
John Waters movies are about people who are just the dregs of society.
Yeah,
and Woody Allen's movies are about people who are
the upper crust,
the academic elite, the academics, the art snobs,
Yeah, but then you've got this Woody Allen character, and I swear to God, I hated him in nearly every movie. I didn't feel empathy for him. I didn't feel what I was supposed to feel for him. He just drove me nuts.
I don't want to talk about Woody Allen because it's a whole thing, and I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah.
But I'll just say this. I love Woody Allen. I think his career went off the Here I am going into it. I don't want
Nah.
this game.
What was the movie I like? Hannah and Her Sisters. That was my favorite.
My favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite?
I mean, I hate to mention the obvious, but it probably is Annie Hall.
Really?
Annie Hall or Manhattan. I shared back when Reed was living with us. I shared those with her both, and
How did she take it?
she really liked Manhattan, and she really liked that ending. Mariel Hemingway was just gorgeous.
Oh, she walks away from him.
No, she didn't walk away from him. She has to go to London
Yeah, but
to study, and
she's has a
he's
very adult
terrified.
attitude about this.
Well,
I think she realizes
she's
more than he does that she's not supposed to be in this.
no, she's crazy about him.
I thought that she
No, you got it
was.
backwards. He is so much older than her. He feels like I'm ruining your life. I'm weighing you down. You don't want to be stuck with me. I'm older. And she's like, I'm just crazy in love with you. And she at first she has the opportunity to go to London to study acting, and she's going to be gone 6 months or something. And she doesn't want to go because she's afraid they'll break up and they'll grow apart. And he's like, no, I want you to go. I want you to have this experience. You don't need to be stuck with an old man like me. And
Well, that translated interestingly into his life.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
this past week, I watched Bad Monkey.
what's that?
It's a Carl Hyacin novel taken to screen by Apple,
Gotcha. Oh, yeah.
starring Vince Vaughn. You had to remind me I'd actually seen Vince Vaughn in something before. It was one of the Jurassic Park movies or something.
Yeah, the second one.
I had no recollection of him or having seen him before. But at one point, one of the characters is on the lam because she molested her 16, 17-year-old student. And he catches up with her, and she reads his diary, and she realizes what she's reading is a guy who 10, 15 years down the road is stuck in this mentality of this teenager. He never matured past it. She realizes.
Is he actually the student she molested?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she realizes just how badly she fucked him up.
Yeah.
I don't think all kids end up like that. I mean, am I?
Well, I was thinking about something similar just earlier today. I was thinking of it in the context of being a parent. But really, it goes for anybody who's in a position of being a mentor to a child or a teenager. Sometimes you don't realize what an effect or an influence you have on your children or people who are in your care under your tutelage.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bigger responsibility than people really think. Because it's not just about providing them with their material needs, and it's not just about providing them with the emotional support or care that they need. It's about being the type of person that, because like if you're a parent, the child, for the rest of his or her life is going to go, well, my parent was this kind of person, and that's therefore that's partly what I am,
I read part of an interview today with a therapist whose policy is too many kids these days realize that the people they raised them were immature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for you to get to the point where you never deal with those parents ever again. If they fucked you up in some way, if they have had such a negative impact on your life, it's okay to walk away from them. And you can see why I read it, because I have a horrible, horrible mother. And I don't really need anybody to tell me it's okay, you can forgive yourself for walking away. My dad came over earlier this week, and he said, do you ever talk to your mother? This was his wife. They parented me for 7 years and together. And I said, no, never. He goes, do you keep up with news? I said, no. I said, the one person I have connected to that's not the family, I told her, I said, I don't want to know anything. I said, please, Tanya, do not call me when she's dead. I don't want to know. But anyway, yeah, some people really shouldn't be parents.
Well, it plays into the fact that blind, uncritical hero worship of anybody,
Oh, yeah.
but especially a parent, is not good. You accept that this is the person that's your parent, and you go, well, this was his good qualities, these were his bad qualities. I'm going to sift and sort through what he was like and what he has probably made me into, or he or she has made me into, and say, okay, this is what I'm going to adopt, and this is what I'm going to reject. And just, the whole, what was it George Carlin called it? Cult of the Father or something? He never met his father. You know that?
No, I was just thinking about the Philip Larkin poem that begins something to the effect of, your mom and dad, they fuck you up.
Yeah, they don't mean to, but they do.
Yeah, exactly. And at some point or another, you have to get to that point where you go, yeah, they're not perfect. Yeah, they had some serious problems. And you have to deal with them. My dad and I had a talk when I was about 28. And I asked him a lot of questions, and we just kind of hashed things out. Because having been brought up by my mother after he left, she warped the way that I viewed him. And, I mean, to the point she would just spit out, you're just like your father, Steve. And, I mean, it's just hateful, hateful woman. And it was, my sister was hers, and I was my dad's. And she hated him. Therefore, she hated me. And then she would go on about, your father did this, your father did that. And listening to my dad and asking him very pointed questions, some of which, the personal relationship dynamic between the two, he said, that's none of your business, and I'm not going to discuss it with you, because that was a husband and wife thing. But others he was very frank about, and he was very calm, and he was very level-headed. And if I had had that same conversation with my mother, if I had turned it around and said, tell me about when my father did such and such, instead of going, Dad, tell me about when you did such and such, my mother would have been spitting with anger. Just, you don't understand how angry she would get. Men, they're good for nothing. They always hurt you. They always leave you. Phrases like that. And those kind of things make you stop when you're in a relationship, and go, okay, I need to stop a moment. This is what I was told, but this is me, and this is my life,
Yeah.
Your mother is one of those people that said, well, my mama taught me such and such. Her favorite was, the sex is bad. And at one point I said, Jane, you need to get to the point where you decide what's right for you instead of having your mother's voice in your ear.
Yeah, well, on the other side, I never, ever heard my father say anything bad about his mother and father, ever. That was just a no-no. And I think it was not only a no-no, but I think he sincerely believed that they were just absolutely perfect.
But he had no problem criticizing his in-laws and saying what trash they were.
Oh, he thought my mother's family was just trash.
Well, sweetie, in his defense, from what I've heard about her family.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
I don't want to
You
know
never
the
met
other
any
half.
of those people. They were just...
Oh, I did meet your cousins as they were pulling furniture out of our house. That was mine. That was mine. Granny said I could have this.
Well,
Granny, it belongs to Jane. Jane and Doyle let her use it. And I'm like clearing stuff out of the drawers as they're dragging furniture out. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Of course, these are the ones who also used to bring
if my grandmother, after my mother's mother died, after the funeral ceremony and all that we had a get together over at my mother's oldest brother's house, his wife's house. So we get over there,
Yeah.
and when we're all gathered, and my mother grabbed her two brothers and took them into a back room to give them
The bill.
their share of the funeral expenses. And they had thought that they were going to get their share of whatever my grandmother had left as money. My grandmother left nothing. And so when she presented them with their part of their share of the funeral expenses, they were like, I don't have any cash on me at the moment. Anyway, so they got into a little tiff. So Bonnie and I are out in the driveway getting ready to leave, and my cousin, older cousin, the daughter of one of these two guys, comes up to me, and this is what she says. "Oh, Lance. Oh, isn't it terrible? They're arguing over money. They're arguing over possessions. Oh, isn't it? It's just so crass. Oh, by the way, Granny promised me that sideboard that's in your house. So tomorrow I'm gonna come over and pick it up." Fine, come get it. I don't want the damn
Parents
thing.
had found that sideboard in an old abandoned house. They took it home. They finished it.
Yeah.
And they let her have, your granny have it for her kitchen so she'd have some place to put things. And it was a very nice antique thing.
If it had been restored properly, it would have been very nice.
Yeah.
This is back when they made a piece of furniture and it would weigh as much as a car.
And it did. And we did not help them take anything out to the vehicle. But I was just like,
I don't know how they got it through the door.
I don't either. I think
It was enormous.
I think they had to take the back piece off because it was like shelves and a mirror and things attached to. Because it had a break front design.
Was our daughter even born when my grandmother died?
No.
You must have been still pregnant.
I was still pregnant. I think I was probably heavily pregnant at this point. And I was just like, these people? My God.
What was it like having this great big extended abdomen where the baby is?
Well, first you start throwing up. And you throw up for days and weeks.
I don't mean just knowing that you're pregnant. I mean the physical.
I mean, it's this process. It's this gradual process that builds. Sometime around 4 or 5 months, quickening happens where you feel the first little flutters and movement. And even at this point, it's like the size of your finger. It's so small. And it isn't until you're well into your last trimester that things begin to really become real for you. I know that by the time Peter came along, the second child, I could figure out what he was doing, moving around. He would stretch end to end.
But when you're like 7, 8 months pregnant and you've got this great big belly, do you feel self-conscious in public or do you feel vulnerable?
No. For me, it was nothing alien. It was nothing foreign. It was the most natural way I had ever felt in my life. I had never felt good in my skin. I was either too tall, too thin, too flat-chested, too big, wide-hipped. Too long legs. I was always too something. Mm-hmm. And suddenly when I was pregnant, I felt like, wow, okay, I feel like I'm in my own skin, so to speak.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an incubator for this other little thing. And then Reed came out, and my instinct was, she was better off inside. Everything was on the autopilot. Now I've got to interact. Before he was just like taking vitamins and watching your diet and things like that. Yeah. And, make certain that you sleep and change positions and go to the bathroom fast enough. It was weird. But when I became obviously pregnant, it was the first time I felt like I was in my own skin, that I was okay with everything.
Interesting.
I also had boobs for the first time. I mean, my boobs are twice the size they were when we got married. More than twice the size, So, yeah, I mean, oh, God. It definitely does change you. I mean, physically, mentally. And my attitude was, this is the most natural thing in the world. You need to learn to trust your instincts because God knows you can't trust the way your mother brought you up. I read a book. I called it my baby Bible. It was called The Baby Book by Sears.
That
And they had a very natural approach to things. Mind you, he was a Christian, believed in the whole quiverful bullshit, to the point that his wife
Dr. Sears?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know
His
that.
wife, who was a nurse, ended up having a kid with Down syndrome because they went ahead and just had whatever God intended. So their last kid was fucked up because she was like 42, and the odds of having a kid with Down syndrome was like 1 in 25 or something insanely.
Well, I'm trying to think about if there's anything that I have actively continued to embrace that my parents taught me. And I can't think of anything really.
Earlier this evening, you mentioned something, and you were kind of surprised a moment ago when I mentioned that Sears was a Christian, and I read his book, etc. I read him because he was good. He was an OBGYN and pediatrician, and he had all these credentials to him. And when I looked it over, it was one of the most thorough manuals I've seen. And it even had the when you're pregnant, when you're expecting, when you're a new mother series. None of them were as good as his. I didn't dismiss him out of hand just because he had these theological leanings. Earlier this evening, you told me a story about your father and how his beliefs influenced his adopting, or in his case, refusing to adopt science. Pueblo.
Oh, they used to have. Well, no, I don't know if it was. He just thought it was silly. See, there used to be these ads on TV for government publications that you could send away for free. And the reason it sticks in my head a lot is because it was all. They always said the address. And it was Pueblo, Colorado, and it was a whole bunch of stuff that you could send for the catalog of publications and then ask for which one you wanted. And I must have been about 11, 12, somewhere in there, 10, 11. He sent away for a publication on what to do about a bad back. And we're having dinner that night, and he's like, "Oh, my thing came in the mail." And he's reading it, and it starts off, humans are especially vulnerable to having a bad back. And this all started when our ancestors came down from the trees 5 million years ago, whatever. And when he's reading this out loud, when he gets to that part, he's like, "Oh," and he threw it to the side. And it wasn't so much because we were such a bunch of fundamentalist Christian nuts that we just actively rejected evolution, like some sort of political theater thing. It was more that he just thought it was silly to stretch all that way. Maybe he wanted some practical stuff. And anyway, whatever.
Well, I think
We weren't as crazy a Christians as the other kids' families were at the school I went to.
You did go to a school that dismissed evolution outright.
Yeah, I think I've told this story before, but in the science classes, we didn't have enough properly, officially Christian-produced material. So sometimes they'd have to use outside sources for teaching. And anytime one of these outside sources, like maybe mostly science shows that the teacher had taped off television, and they'd show them in class, Anytime that the narrator or some scientist in one of these shows said millions of years ago, the teacher would laugh out loud encouragingly. He wanted all of us to laugh at this ridiculous notion that the earth was anything more than 5,000 years old, So after a while, this becomes a habituated response. Anytime you hear millions of years, you'd go, "Ha ha ha," like, what ludicrous lies. Well, this got to be such an ingrained habit with me that one day in class, we were watching a film about the solar system. And the narrator goes, the Earth is 9 million miles from the sun, or whatever it is. And when he says millions of miles, I burst out laughing just out of habit.
Oh my
And I'm like,
God.
oh, wait, no, that's probably true. But then you learn that space and time are the same thing. So therefore, when you say millions of miles, you're also saying millions of years.
So the starlight, that stars from
Oh,
millions
but that
of
doesn't
miles.
count because that's apparent age.
The excuses they made up.
God put that there to deceive you and to trick you and to test your faith. You know, if you
Yours
can,
is a trickster god,
when you
like Loki.
when you reject the evidence of your eyes and ears, then you are embracing faith. That's all we
What
need
was
in
the
life.
thing I heard? Faith is the gunpowder throughout history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as Ambrose Bierce said, faith is believing in something that you know isn't true.
Wow. Hence the Devil's Dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that was his chosen title and not something just ascribed to it.
Right.
He realized that
he
it was.
published it under that title.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me is that our political and public discourse has not changed that much in 150 years.
The thing is in our lifetime, I thought we were moving forward. I really did. I mean, we sent a man to the moon during my lifetime. We stopped the Cold War. We
You had
came up with
amazing,
a couple of new vaccines.
amazing medical progress.
Yes,
And now everybody's rejecting it.
yeah, we were able to transplant a heart and lungs and all these other things, and in vitro fertilization. And you had Nova was just standard, and PBS was what you would have your kids watch because it was safe on TV. And now people are attacking Big Bird and Sesame Street for being so PC, and the science shows are covering issues like why people are transgender, or the one community in the Dominican Republic where they have a isolated population of girls who stop at puberty. They stop growing boobs and other things, and they take on male roles.
But isn't there a
And-
subgroup of people that they're born girls and they turn into boys because suddenly their clitoris starts growing and it pops out and becomes a penis? That's like
I forget what the group in Dominican Republic did exactly, but they've got these people and they've documented how these kids, the puberty hits and something switches in a opposite direction, and your girl children are suddenly growing mustaches or something, and they discover there's some sort of gene there.
Well, all this macho horseshit and rigid separation of the genders is such bullshit because all of us, all mammals, start off as females in the womb.
Yeah.
That's why men have superfluous nipples, because it's the release of these hormones in the womb that changes your clitoris into a penis.
The other thing I don't understand about the anti-trans movement is somewhere in the whole mix of things, there are people who, I guess in the traditional terms you'd call them hermaphrodites, that they have expressions of both sexes. Like the young boys who grow boobs and they have to go in and they have to get them fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girls who have a small extended penis where the clitoris is, or the boys who have an extremely small micro penis.
Mm-hmm.
And then girls whose ovaries are in the wrong place, or they drop, but there's no place for them to drop because they actually have testes, but the outward expression is female from what you see on the outside. So we've got all these things that happen. It's like 1 in 2,000 children are born with non-specific external features.
Well, it's
And they don't account for anybody that is different outside of strictly female, strictly male. I mean, how many times have we met women who basically had no boobs?
they can't
You know?
accept the fact that everything in life is a spectrum. And
Oh.
because they want everything to be totally binary, not just in gender, not just in sexuality. They want it to be that way with everything.
This week, RFK Jr. just stepped in a big pile of his own bullshit. He went off about how kids with autism are a burden to society. They will never mature. They will never be tech
He
trained.
thinks they're all Rain Man, basically, you know?
But it's more than that. He thinks they're worse than that. He thinks that there are these kids that sit there and rock in the seat all day and maybe have to wear diapers and get back, and are nonverbal. And he doesn't understand the phrase spectrum, being on the spectrum, the autism spectrum,
Well,
etc.
yeah, and it goes to the political economic spectrum as well. It's like it's either all capitalism or it's all socialism, and it's not.
Yeah, we have a mixed.
Even here in America, you have a mixed economic system.
Their faith puts everything in terms of good and evil,
Yes.
black and white.
Yes.
And when you have that sort of rigidity in thinking, it limits the way that you perceive everything.
And it goes down to what we were talking about earlier, which is their ideas about life. And it's like, well, life isn't perfect, and therefore it's no good. Life doesn't last forever. Death is a real thing, so therefore life is no good. So we're going to reject everything.
You like saying they hate life.
Yep.
And that is so true. They who say, we are pro-life, don't give a flying fuck if some kid who's transgender or gay feels suicidal. Their ideas are, well, then maybe you ought to not be gay, not be trans, not be... Zero empathy. They don't care if that kid kills themselves. They're talking about doing my funding for the suicide hotline for these kids. Mm-hmm. That's horrific. They've taken away money across the board for programs at home and abroad. They have programs to stop AIDS transmission from mothers to fetuses and newborns. They have medicine to stop TB in its tracks to keep it from becoming multi-drug resistant TB. They have food, simple as a fortified peanut butter, which we have a factory here in Georgia that's had to ramp down its production of it. It's peanut butter in a pouch and you squeeze it out, and the young child is able to eat the peanut butter, and it provides this huge nutritional boost for children who are starving.
Yeah.
Yet they've cut programs to all of these things.
Stuff you're talking about is some of the cheapest, easiest stuff to produce,
Yes.
and it's so effective at fighting famine.
And it comes in these little packages that are like a large type of ketchup or mayonnaise package, and you pull the corner and you squeeze it into the child's mouth. And so it's sanitary. And that in and of itself is something in areas where when we had to do the refugee camps and things like that, the first priority is water. Water, you have to have sanitation, and that is always something that you're constantly monitoring for disease and making certain that you have enough for bathing and drinking and cooking. And in areas where you can't spare water except for a shower every couple of days or a week at best, being able to have something that you can just open and directly put into the child's mouth, that saves water there. But these people have cut funding to veterans' suicide programs have been cut. Aid for veterans who are in crisis, who have PTSD, cut. We have proposed housing cuts now, proposed child care cuts. The new budget from the president gives a list of things that he wants Congress to do. He doesn't actually set the budget, but that list coming from the White House is expected next week. And they're already just all these programs, social programs, they're cutting right and left.
I need to get up off the sofa for a second. I need to check something here. This hinge is hanging off this.
Baby, don't.
Oh, okay, I see. It needs to be reattached. There was something else I had to do. I need to get a cup of tea. I'll be right back. There's something else. Okay, I'm going to pause it. All right. Are we back? Is this recording? Okay, we're back recording again. All right.
So, right now we've got the slash and burn approach to all government programs. They're gutting programs. We have 50 individual states. That means we have 50 individual state governments. And what we are seeing is the state governments being slapped in the face by the reality of these cuts. They realize that, and they know this is a fact, that they can't do everything on their own. They can't provide every service there is. They can't cover every base, all these problems. So we have federal government, which administers these things that benefit all citizens in all states, and will oftentimes cover the gaps where the states can't step up. Either they can't step up because they don't have the money, they don't have the resources with regard to the science or the actual machines that do the science. One state reported that it's having to stop its lead testing. I don't know if it was lead testing in paint or lead testing in the pipes. And it was some school system. I don't know if it was Detroit or what. The CDC has had its funding cut so much that the people who would have normally stepped in and provided the science to do the testing, to figure out what to do to remove this problem, are gone. They've been let go. The program doesn't exist. The Chattahoochee River, which runs through Atlanta, Georgia, has to draw from our river system in order to get the water that we need in order for our cities to provide water, drinking water, sewers, etc. The Chattahoochee River group has said that a 10% of the program that monitors the safety of the water, bacterial contamination, etc., is funded by and the science provided by federal government. I don't know which, if I don't think it's CDC, I think it's something else. I think USGS maybe. And suddenly they're not going to be able to monitor the quality of the water at the same level. So what does that mean? It means that we may have things get through the filtration system that is currently in place at the water centers in the Atlanta area or wherever it's at. We're beginning to see breakdown on food testing. The ports are slowing down because the food that's coming in is not being tested properly, because we do receive fresh food from around the world. I mean, a couple of years ago we had that famous incident with the banana spiders or something coming in. They were trying to catch all of them before they came in. And then the chickens, is it the chickens? No, it's the milk this week. They said the milk will no longer be tested with the same rigid standards for safety. And this, ironically, includes raw milk products. And I say ironically because RFK is a big raw milk advocate. People are going to see just what the federal government does to bridge the gaps, to provide those little extra dollars or the extra science. How many times have we had to vote on a special purpose local option sales tax? And that is to get taxes brought in. Most of those programs are done in conjunction with monies, matching funds from the federal level. So if we want to do improvements and we have a tax to do special improvements to our roads, we go, okay, we're going to commit 0.5% or whatever of our taxes, and the federal government comes in and goes, we're going to match that. And it comes out of the greater pool of federal funds from taxation. So we're going to have more potholes. We're going to have more sick people. Not only is it measles now, apparently whooping cough is making a resurgence now. Because the programs that push for education, for vaccines, are being silenced, literally silenced. And that is happening at both the state level as well as the federal level now. In Louisiana and in Florida, we have health departments run by people who don't support vaccination. They don't support promoting it. In Louisiana, they no longer have the campaigns, it's wintertime, it's time for your flu shots. They no longer suggest it in Louisiana health clinics. As a matter of fact, it's verboten. You're not allowed to talk about it. The person has to initiate the conversation with the healthcare provider. In Florida, their Surgeon General is anti-COVID vax, anti-masking. Masking has been proven over and over to be a safe practice.
Do you ever listen to these back?
Seldom.
Okay.
What do you listen to them every time, right?
Yeah, I try to. Well, usually, I'm the first person to ever to listen to them. We're approaching the end of the show. You still need to give me my shot tonight.
Okay.
Are you up for that?
Okay.
All right. They give us these. They used to give us proper needles. Now they give us these flimsy needles that start to bend when you poke them into your skin.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else. There was something I was going to say when I got up to look at that hinge over there, and I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, you ought to listen to these. You know, it's usually best to give them a couple of days so you forget what we all said, and it's more of a surprise. Trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about.
What else do we do when we're out and about in town? You got some canvases today.
Got some canvases at Shitty Hobby Lobby, which I hate.
You had a really positive experience in there.
This woman in line, she was a customer. She was checking out in the aisle next to mine, the aisle register next to mine, and she was talking to everybody. She was talking to her cashier. She was talking to the cashier that was ringing me up. She was talking to people in front of her in line and back of her in line, and it's running, yapping her map. I'm just like, what? I dare you to talk to me and see what happens. We dropped off the house payment and made some deposit at the bank. Went to the
recycling.
Did recycling.
Pharmacy from hell.
Went to the pharmacy.
Yeah, your prescription was 3 times more than it should have been.
Have you looked into that yet?
No, by the time we got home, I was completely dead.
Yeah.
And it's basically the weekend. They're not going to have anybody on until Monday, and then the lines.
We bought some flowers for my mother-in-law.
We're going to see them on Saturday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be available Mother's Day weekend. So we're going to surprise her with early cards, early flowers.
So, I can't think of anything else going on at the moment. We need to wrap this up. I need to get this video made and get some painting done.
Did you hear Peter talking about his new employee he was training today?
Oh, he was training him.
Yeah, he's already doing training. Apparently he found from one of his coworkers that he's an excellent worker, that he runs a tight shift, and he sets the pace faster than anybody else for doing his job. And he commented on how slow this guy was, and I said, well, you need to constructively say things like, you're new, it's going to take you a while to learn to develop a rhythm and pick up the pace.
You need to push Peter into getting into supervising. It'll be better for him in the long run.
I know. He should have been doing that the last job. The managers liked him so much that he was the fill-in for whatever. And then whenever there was new staff brought on, they didn't see the managers trained Peter. Peter became the training person. You need somebody trained on how to do inventory control systems and run the computers, you talk to Peter.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up, and I think
Call it
it's
a night, and we're going to have a big weekend.
yeah. All right, so that's about it. Bye bye.
Eat at Mediterranean Grill. It's very good.